Create For You podcast, and I'm here with
Jamilea. Hi.
Hi, Jemilea. So this podcast is about how special people like you create special memories for people and make them last forever in different mediums. So please explain what's your organisation and what do you do?
So my organisation is called Writerz and Scribez, and we're a creative arts organisation. We run workshops, events, exhibitions, activities in the community, specifically for vulnerable groups. So that could be a poetry workshop with disabled young people. It could be a photography workshop with people in homeless shelters. And really, it's just about building community, helping people to connect with each other, connect with themselves, improve their mental health and well-being, and have fun.
Okay, especially mental health and well-being, especially in these times, is very, very important.
Yes.
So how I start is like, I do some fireside chat questions, just things to get to people to know you, because I think like people connect with people and people buy from people. So I have some questions. So what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
I think, so 18, I had just started uni, moved out for the first time, and I was quite scared. I went to Brunel in Uxbridge. Okay. So I wasn't too far from home, but far enough that I didn't have to live at home. That was my plan. Mm-hmm. I think my advice to myself would have been, you don't have to completely change who you are. I think I went to uni believing that I could reinvent myself as if I wasn't enough how I was already. And maybe in first year got carried away with that concept of becoming someone new and not having anyone know my background or like where I came from and what I did. And so yes, some more self-acceptance and to be able to stand in my truth and present that in a very positive way without just focusing on being in the in crowd and what that meant, and letting go of some of my own morals in order to fit in.
Okay, that was very insightful. There's a lot of self-reflection there. Okay. So the next question is, what advice would you give to your 27-year-old self?
Right, so at 27, this is another key age of my life. I just got married.
Oh, okay.
So I would say to myself, have fun, like enjoy who you are becoming. I think I was very worried about hitting milestones and my purpose and future and trying to have a path planned out for the next 20 years and so focused on the end goal that I wasn't stopping to just appreciate day-to-day things, small things. And so, yeah, I would definitely say just relax. Like things will happen when they're supposed to happen. It's all a process. Laugh more, smile more, do silly things. It's okay. And definitely like make mistakes and don't berate yourself for them. I'm quite perfectionist when it comes to life, and I can get really frustrated with myself when I don't achieve in a way I think I ought to. And I think that has prevented a lot of growth. It's good in some aspects, but I think it's hard when you're like always harsh on yourself about things and not give yourself opportunity to learn and to grow. So I would definitely tell myself, like, chill, you'll get there.
Okay, I wish I heard that at 27.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't hear that at all, and I feel like I need to take the advice at my age right now.
For any age, it's a good reflection.
I'm telling you, because geez, all that stress was for nothing. in my case, but yeah. And what are you curious about right now? What are you curious about?
So right now in this period, so I've got 2 kids. Leia, who's 4, Noah, who's just turned 6 months. And I'm really curious about how my family pathology affects my parenting. And I'm really thinking about how my grandma coming over from Jamaica and leaving my mum in Jamaica and then sending for her when she was like 11, how that affected their relationship, how that affected my mum becoming a mother and our relationship, and what are the things that I'm carrying within myself that I need to resolve in order to have better relationships with my children. So, yeah, I'm really curious about patterns and intergenerational traumas.
Oh, I was going to use that word, but I didn't want to say it.
No, you can say it because it's real. And I'm really interested in how we can want different, but if we don't do the work within ourselves, we will end up repeating patterns. And so the strength that it takes to actually delve into your trauma and heal it, in order to set a new narrative for the next generation, is something I'm curious about and exploring in my own therapy sessions because it's necessary. But it's something I also want to write about when I get there.
In poetry, short stories, what medium?
I think it will take a variety of different forms. I'm writing about my relationship with my mum, and it's interesting because they're quite cold poems when I look back at them now. And I think if I write about how that's changed, you'll definitely see a progression in the poem. But I also have a real interest in collating the voices of the elders and having them in a way that younger children like Leia, my daughter, will be able to listen back to. So maybe some kind of short documentary or film, because my maternal grandma, she has dementia now, so I can't get those stories from her. And I think it's all great, like reading things, but hearing someone's voice, it just changes the whole concept of what it means. So yeah, some way to archive some of those memories would be great.
It's like oral history, isn't it? And I feel just in case the listeners don't know, but we're both black women from the African from the African diaspora. So basically, in the motherland, oral history, your elders will pass on the knowledge, and your history, and you have that continuity. And in a way, I'm talking for you, but please say, is the word of displacement when you're in England, I guess, if you're not born here, and that having that connection, and you look to your grandparents and how do you carry that history going on to your daughters or for future generations? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or am I talking?
No, I would definitely agree, and I think there has been a lack of passing down of stories. I think due to the trauma of being in this country, being displaced, having to deal with some harsh conditions and racism, and almost a suppression of those stories that we didn't have access to. And I know that for me, I thought that my grandma was a really cold woman, and now that I've learned things about what she had to deal with, domestic violence, being homeless with 5 kids, stillbirth, I realized that it's a form of protection for her, and it's how she survived. But for me, growing up, it was like, well, I don't know much about who I am more than what I'm creating for myself, being a Black British woman. And so it's trying to connect the dots of all of the pieces, so that we have a story to tell that's accurate, and it's not just based on what we think or feel, but like those elders have found their voice again and are able to now open up to us about some of those things that are painful and troublesome.
So it sounds like from what you're saying that, stories are important. Seems like from what you do, you're a natural storyteller. How important is storytelling in 2020 through your different mediums? Yeah.
I think it's life, Storytelling, it's what helps us to understand the world, understand each other. It's how we escape from our own realities. It's why we Netflix and chill. It's why we, watch things that have crap acting, but we want to just remove ourselves from our own reality. And when we tell our own stories, I think it really gives us value and it allows us to exist beyond our own minds. And in Writerz and Scribez, especially working with vulnerable groups, they are often in places of chaos and confusion when we meet with them. They're at women's refuges, or they've just been released from prison, or they're in a homeless shelter, and it's giving value to that story that is beyond their circumstance, and saying that there is more to you than what has happened to you, that this doesn't define you, that you can rewrite the narrative through your own voice and have that stigma removed from it. I think it's really empowering for those people, but it's also necessary for society to not have this very closed-minded view of who these people are and who these women are, why women stay with abusive partners. And, you know, we can all make up our own narrative, but when you hear someone's story, you know, you can empathize, you can come out of a sense of judgment and connect to the humanity of a person, which I think is what society needs, to have compassion and kindness to people that are different from us, and to be more connected to each other, because our emotions are quite similar. Although we might face different stories, when there is an emotional center, that's what we connect to, because we know what that feels like.
So you said a lot there, a lot to unpack. It's about, so as Writerz and Scribez, your organisation, how do you work with these vulnerable people, or the people who you work with, and how do you make it from the first workshop or exhibition? How do you make sure that it's a memorable experience with the people who you work with, the end user?
Yeah, so we are definitely person-centered, and what we are always...
Could you explain that for people? Doesn't mean, like, some people don't know what person...
Yeah, sure. So whenever we have our activities, whenever we're building our workshops or our sessions, we're always doing it from the position of the person that's going to be experiencing what we put on. And so it's not about us, you know, patting ourselves on the back for how great we created a workshop, but it's what is the experience that person's going to have when they enter the space, when they talk to the people, all the way through the session. And so we know that people are different, they have different needs, they're coming from a lot of different backgrounds, but what we want to create is a safe space where they can feel heard, where they can feel valued, and where they can enjoy themselves. I think for us, we don't spend enough time as adults being creative. We often are so busy, consumed with the things that are going wrong, and often don't have an outlet for those feelings. So for us, we want that whoever walks into our workshop to experience themselves in a new way. A lot of the times we have people who tell us, you know, I don't write poetry, I don't do poetry, I can't do it, it's not for me. And our aim is to show people that who they are is important enough to write about, and what they have to say is important enough to be heard. And we're not trying to turn the whole world into poets, but it's the tool that we use to help people find their way. So yeah, I guess for us, it's for them to be in a space where creativity is encouraged, but also they're not pressured to do anything. It's very gentle in terms of participation. You don't have to share. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. If you just want to sit and listen to the poem, it's not a educational setting. We're not marking work. We don't care about spelling. We don't care if it's in English. We encourage people to write in their mother tongue, and to be free of that judgment of, oh, I don't know how to write a complete sentence, or my English teacher told me this about myself. And yeah, it's literally about their voice. If you have something to say, we're willing to listen to it.
Okay, I hear you. So when you were, say, the homeless people, I don't want to use these names because everyone's like a sad story, but people of certain circumstance, we're with them for the first time. I know it depends on the person, but just broadly, how do you structure all the sessions to build that rapport so they feel that they have a really good experience? What practical things do you do there?
Yeah, so we always have food.
Yeah.
Snacks are important.
Okay.
So we have snacks. We have music in the background. We're very cordial with people when they come in. We're very interested in them. We look them in the eye. We have attentive listening. We want to know about them. We're very curious about them. And I think the activities that we do are structured in a way that people want to take part. So we always start off with things that are very easily accessible, but require some creative thinking. So we might ask someone to describe your mood as a beverage. And, you know, we're not actually asking you to tell us how you're feeling. You don't have to share anything personal. But depending on your answer, you know, we can allude to what that might be. It turns into a bit of a guessing game. People might say anything from sparkling water to a vodka and Coke. And like, it's about getting people in the room, getting them to use the creative part of their brain, having fun, laughing. We always share more than anyone in the first session so that they know that it's a place where we're not just going to ask questions and not tell you about ourselves. Like, we are also in the room. We are also participating. Any activity that we set, we do it as well. So if we're telling everyone to do a free write for 5 minutes, we're writing for 5 minutes, because it's not about us being the teacher. We want to engage in the activity that's about sharing and doing things together. And I think that really sets the tone that we want to be on an equal standing with them and not just bark orders at them.
So you're working in partnership, facilitating. It's not like you do things onto them. It's a process where everyone is kind of like equal to, and they have a chance if they want to share their voice and to be heard, because sometimes in spaces they're not heard or seen as very, very passive in this society for whatever reason. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. So that's one part of what your organisation does. What are the next strand of what your organisation?
Yeah, so we also are really interested in the progression of artists. So we want to support our facilitators. We want to support people who are trying to emerge as artists and provide opportunities for learning and for growth. So we have master classes. We have support writing groups that run. We do training. So as much as we are about the community, we don't think it's fair to expect things of artists if we don't also want to develop those artists. So as much as they give to the community, we want to give to them as well. And I think that's why a lot of artists stay with us, why they like working for us, because they also feel valued in the work that they do. It's not just about us collecting money from their work, but we're interested in what they're creating and how they're doing it outside of their work with us. How can we support that? What ideas do they have that we could allow them to run with? So it's a partnership, not just with the beneficiaries, but with those facilitators as well.
Okay. So you do artists. What about the exhibitions, the events, the immersive experiences you do? How do you cater that to your client or the organisation who you partner with?
Yeah, so one of the things that we love about creating is the opportunity to share. When we are telling voices that they deserve to be heard, we need to give them an audience as well. So we like to end our projects with some kind of sharing, whether that's a showcase or an exhibition or an event. And that often we like to create books because it's a physical representation of the work. but it's also something they can be proud of, that they can take away, that they can show to other people. It's not just I performed at this event. It's like, I'm in this book. Like, here's my work. You can read it. You can buy it. You can purchase it. And it is a sense of accomplishment, I think, for anyone to be in a book or, you know, in an article. When people see their name in print and their words in print, it gives such value to who they are. So we like to celebrate it in that way. We run community events, so sometimes we're asked to do workshops for festivals, for celebrations, literary events in the community. And with those as well, we're trying to bring something fun and different that people will enjoy, even if they think they don't like creative writing or they think that it's not for them. Just showing them that it is for everyone. And our feedback shows that people have a great time, which is what we're trying to bring.
Okay. Don't get me wrong, there was something what you did, was it last year or the year before, about, was it barbershop and hair and how you did things? Could you explain the experience, what you created?
Sure. So we came up with this idea called the Switch Project. And it was out of a creative collaboration group at Battersea Art Centre. We spent the day, researchers and artists and companies, trying to come up with an idea that would target a specific group or a specific problem. And so one of the things that we noticed was that Black men specifically only make up 1% of audiences at galleries and theatres and different art spaces. And so we were talking about exclusion and why people don't feel like spaces are for them and how we could change that. And we wanted to switch what an art space is, or what is considered to be an art space. And so the point was to take somewhere that they feel comfortable, that they feel safe, which is barbershops. We know that, you know, statistically, Black men are very loyal to their barbers. It's a very intimate relationship with somebody in your head, and you're trusting them with, you know, sharp blades near your...
Make sure your fade is actually, you know, faded properly. Straight.
Lined up. And it's a place where a lot of change happens. You know, when people exit a barbershop, they leave differently than when they came in. Not just in their hairstyle, but in their confidence, in the way they walk. And we also believe that art shifts people in the same way that it brings about change. So we had quite a few barbershops in Tooting sign up, and we had artists go in on different days and just do live art in the space. So we had musicians, we had photography, we had live art, so people drawing in the space, we had spoken word. So yeah, it was just about people being exposed to art where they weren't expecting it and what that would do for their perception of what an art space is.
Okay. And how did they find it? In your barber, like, you know, when I used to have short hair, I used to go barbershops all the time, very male dominated, lots of chat. How did they experience this art in the barbershop?
Yeah, so what we found was, especially the live music, people said that it changed the atmosphere of the space, that it became more relaxing, more chill. The barbers really appreciated it as well. They felt like they had a different rhythm to their work, because we had mostly acoustic singers go in with guitars. We had some violin playing. So it wasn't like, you know, typical hip hop that might already be playing. It was very different. And with the spoken word, what they liked about it was that there was a focal point, so it was an experience for everyone to enjoy, and then they could all talk about it afterwards. So that was also really good. And, you know, with the photography, they just loved it because they like getting their picture taken. And when the pictures were developed, the barbers enjoyed it because they said it made them feel appreciated, as if what they do is art. And
yes,
it deserves to be captured.
It's a skill, you know. You can't mess up your hair.
Listen.
It's a skill. Like, I could tell as a I'm not a black male, but as a punter, when about 5 years ago, when my hair was short, I used to go to barbers and cut my hair. In the black barbers, Jamaican barbers. Probably the experience was interesting because I was the only woman, and all you can hear is like loud music, and then everyone's just chatting over each other, and then all the men are saying, "Why are you here? Go get your hair. Like, we want you with long hair, not short hair." And you can hear but in a joke, in a nice jokey way.
Yeah, but I can imagine.
And
it's a very jokey atmosphere.
So to have a bit of order, like a focal point, when that 1 minute, some people coming in, can you buy perfume? Can you buy this? People are chatting over there. People having a bit of a drink over there. I'm not sure they should be drinking. And then everyone's chatting and random conversation, and sometimes they have the TV on, and sometimes not. So you don't know where to look when you're in the chair, and then so it's such a nice. Yeah, I wish when I had my hair cut, I had nice acoustic music and, make it feel like an event,
Yeah, and I think some of the people that got their hair cut also said that they felt more relaxed in the chair.
Yeah.
So sometimes they talk about like being tense because obviously you want it to be perfect and like looking in the room trying to see what's going on, but it's like the music was a distraction, but it was a calming presence. So afterwards, they felt like they enjoyed it more. They just had a good time. They said not all the time. They said not every day because, we like the bands and we like the talking and the chatting, but they were like once in a while it's like a welcome change.
Okay, cool. Okay, so the next one I wanted to ask you about was you as an artist or a poet or a writer, when you get commissioned, what is the process with you or the person or the organisation who commissions you to write something or to display something?
Sure. So, I can actually talk about something quite recent.
Okay.
So I got commissioned to write a 10-minute monologue, poetic monologue on feminism, and it was quite a challenge for me because I don't come from a theatre background. I haven't done any playwriting courses, and so my initial way to handle it was to treat it like a poem. But I had to really step out of my comfort zone. I had to listen to monologues. I had to think about how they're written and what's the different styles. But also to be confident in that they picked me for a reason. Like there's something that they see in my work, why they've commissioned me, and trying to use that to push past writer's block and self-doubt and all of the other imposter syndrome thoughts that can come when someone's paying you to do a thing. Because when you're writing for yourself, you don't have anyone to disappoint but yourself. But when you're being commissioned to do something, it's like, oh, there's going to be a judgment of the work that I produce at the end. So for me, it was important to have regular communication with the commissioner to make sure I understood the brief.
How did you do that? How do you do that? Because sometimes you write something, you're like, I don't understand. How do you interpret it? Because you want to make sure that you do a good job. How did you make sure?
Yeah, so I read the brief initially. I agreed to the brief. I signed the contract. And then in the process of doing it, I emailed the commissioner and I just said, these are the thoughts that I'm having. Could you tell me whether I'm on the right track? Can you give me any examples of what you want the end to be like, and kind of help me to curve it out, because it can be quite vague to get a commission. It's like, do what you want, but that's not really true because you can get it wrong. So that means you can't completely do what you want. So yeah, I got some helpful feedback. I got a couple of videos to look at that gave me direction. And then, we had decided on a first draft and then a review. So I knew that the work that I submitted initially would not be the final. And I think that took a lot of pressure off as well, because it was like, I am committing myself to do change, and they are committing to work with me that we can have something that we are both happy with. So I think just being very open, and also like the deadline was approaching, and there was a lot going on in my family. There was a couple incidents, and can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Absolutely fine.
Okay, cool. Perfect. And I wasn't sure if I was going to make the deadline, but I communicated that very early on. I think communication is the best thing. People are more than happy to accommodate you if you're honest and open, and don't wait till 5 minutes before the deadline to be like, actually, I'm not going to get this in on time. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think trusting the process as well, doing a lot of free writes, doing a lot of research, and allowing myself to experiment were all part of that as well. So the first draft went in, there's edits to be done, but I'm looking forward to what it will bring out of me. I think commissions can definitely be a challenge that give you something you wouldn't necessarily do on your own. And what can you learn about your own creative process by taking on the commission? How can you stretch yourself? And how will it improve your work in the future by doing something different?
Okay, so on the theme of like winning or getting commissions or getting more work at festivals, or just let them just call them group as commissions. How do you get them? So if someone wants to be like you, have a creative, how would you describe a creative organization? Yeah. As a creative organization, or as an artist, or as a writer, how would you put yourself to get more commissions and
Yeah, so I think in terms of commissions, to get more, it's about being visible. People are not going to ask you to do things unless they know you have work. And that can be in different ways. Like, I don't have a personal website for my poetry. I have my organisation website, but I don't have a personal website for me. Maybe that's coming soon, who knows? But for me, it's about contacting places that you would like to work, talking about what you do. Maybe, like, say there's a museum or a gallery that you want to form a partnership with, contacting them, having talks about what you do, and talk about them in a positive way. Like, I came to see this exhibition that you showed, and this was what I liked about it. This really inspired me. Have you thought about including poetry in your next exhibition? These are some of the things that I do. Creative people, always looking to connect with other creatives, but also it's about pushing the boundaries. So to a place that may not usually have poetry, like I don't know, a conference on something that you're interested in, and they've got loads of speakers, but there's no art. If you approach those people and say, look, I can do something entertaining but also inspiring for this event, there's a likelihood that if they don't book you for this one, they'll come back to you for the next one. Because people like to have breaks, especially in long, we all lose concentration when we're in something for a whole day and it's just people talking at us. It's nice to break it up with some kind of art. So just being open to have those conversations. If you want to talk to people on Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram, most people can be contacted somewhere. So yeah, but start with what you like about what they're doing before you try and pitch yourself. So it shows that you thought about how you fit in with what they're already doing.
Okay. So you've talked about what you do in your organisation, how to get more commissions, how you build relationships with the end user, which is the participants, and also with the people who pay you, or I don't know, your client or the person who you partner with. So who are the ideal people who you like to partner with or get commissions from? Who are ideal people you like to work with?
So as an organisation, if we're going to run workshops, our favourite types of people to work with are usually charitable organisations who are on the ground doing frontline work, who usually don't have a lot of funding, who have a lot of care and support for the participants, but haven't got the resources to provide artistic outlets. So that we know that we're providing value to their service and to their participants. So those are our favourite types of organisations when it's evident that we are filling a need and not just adding to something that already exists. And then also just like companies that have a social impact philosophy, who care, who are trying to make a difference. You know, anyone who's trying to do good in the world, we're happy to partner with them. And if they're not trying to do good, we're happy to come and show them how to use their money to do good.
Okay, social responsibility.
Yes, social justice. Take your riches and help the people out here. So
why not?
So yeah.
Okay. So we've reviewed everything. You kind of said everything. You said so much. I was writing notes like, oh my god, I need to do some of these things as well. So it's all practical. So I know I'm going to put it in the show notes, but how can people find the work what you do for your own self and for your organisation?
Sure. So if you want to find me personally, my favourite social media to use is Twitter. My @ is Poetic Gems, JEMZ. And if you follow me, the @ for the organisation is like in my bio. That's Writerz and Scribez, and our website is writersandscribes.org. I have a couple of things out on YouTube, but they're very old. I've been published in a lot of places, but they're not online. So you kind of need physical copies. But
like what type of poetry places or creative writing spaces you've been published?
Yeah, so the Pittsburgh Poetry Review, the Good Journal. I was in their first journal. One of 5 poets. Different anthologies. One that came out with Platypus Press, and Magma, the poetry magazine.
Wow, Magma's a big one. Yeah,
that was quite recently as well. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, even for me, I need to start submitting more. I think I had a big fear at the beginning, like, oh, no one wants this in their, very fancy, glossy magazines. I'm not that type of poet, but I've learned that rejections come, like your work will not be for everybody, and that's okay. And you just need to find where it belongs. You wouldn't marry everybody, so like you would pick and choose. And like when people have their magazines and their journals, they're picking and choosing based on their own aesthetic, based on their own interest, and it's not a direct relation to the quality of your work. It just might not be a good fit. When people are like, oh yeah, she's lovely, but I'd never date her. Like there's just we wouldn't fit together. So I think just being realistic and not taking rejection as a personal attack, and not being discouraged, but also knowing that if you don't submit, you won't get published at all. You got to try.
I was just writing this
down.
That's
for any industry,
This is me trying to I need to start publishing poems. I haven't done it.
Yeah.
I haven't done it. I do sometimes competitions, but then I get then I give up. But it's just so great to see Say again.
You got to shoot your shot.
Got to shoot your shot. So you're inspiring me to oh God, I need to 2020. I got to publish.
After this, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna send you this spreadsheet of all the submission dates that are coming up.
I was gonna ask you that. Well, for my personal use, but
yeah, for your personal use.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Okay, that's very inspiring. Okay, now put it out in the universe and the world's going to hear it. I have to do it. So.
And I'm going to hold Cass accountable. She's going to submit to at least 5 different places.
I have to, man. I'm getting older. So this is what you do. So when you hang out with creators, when you hear inspirational women, like I'm just saying, I don't have no children, I don't have nothing, and you're doing all these great things, and me by my little self with my cat, not producing as much volume as you do. So I just find it very inspirational and how you grew your organization and getting work and keeping that going. I just thought that, and helping out the community.
You can't act like you're not an inspiration on your own. You've done a lot. Let's not take away from that.
I've tried very, very hard. But, the people I interview on here, most of the people do it for the private sector or for themselves, they're self-employed or, but you're doing it like you're really helping people's lives and creating great experience for people. Even for me, maybe it's a bit of bit trite and contrived what I'm saying. For that homeless person or person in a refuge, I don't know if I told you, I used to be a domestic violence worker. Mm-hmm. So when I used to work in refuges or in the community, and for the women, literally take their bin bags with their children to these places, literally. And then they let everything, because it was volatile. When a woman leaves, their partner is the most dangerous time, the more, more likely to die, and their children.
Yeah.
For whatever reason or not, right? It's not likely. Anyway, that's crazy. My passion go down.
So I have like one story.
Go ahead, tell me.
So I did a set of 5 workshops at this refuge in Croydon, and it was amazing. The women were lovely. They really engaged with the work we did, and then like 2 years later, I was in a soft play with my daughter, and this woman came up to me and she was like, "You're a poet, right?" And I was like, yeah, I am. She was like, "You used to run workshops at this women's refuge. Do you remember me?" And when somebody tells you something and then your mind clicks? So I was looking in her face like, I know you, but where from? And so as soon as she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I remember. I did it because we used to do like little yoga stretches at the end and like little well-being things. And she told me that, those workshops really changed her life. She said they made her feel empowered. She was going through rough custody battles with her ex-husband. And she said having that space to release and to write and to vent gave her the strength to say what she needed to say in court. And she was like, my life's changed. I'm in a great relationship. My kids are great. She was like, I always remember those workshops. I always talk about those workshops to people. And it was just amazing for me because I was not expecting it. I was just out with my kids in a ball pit, Her to come to me and tell me that, I was just like, wow, like we are actually changing people's lives.
You are.
That's what we want to do.
Oh, it's so. I wish when I was working in refuges and places like that, we had your like kind of services. People like this is back about 10 years ago. But when I was working, people like when it's Christmas, everyone like big corporations, things will give out gifts and Santa Claus. But when it's not Christmas and that woman's literally with her kids in a cramped room, right? It's not glorious spaces. It's safe, but it's not glorious spaces. Yeah. They need that to get their voice back and their confidence and rebuild their lives. So I just, you hear the passion, like these things are needed and memories for these women to have these courage from what the trauma they've been through. So, kudos to you for, helping them, get their not helping, but facilitating their voice. They always had it.
It was always there.
It was always there. But,
just reminding them. Yeah.
Just reminding them who they are. More than just a mum, they're a person, or or not a victim, or whatever survivor. They're a person. So
agreed.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you very much. People can contact you. No worries. I put it in the show notes, and now you inspire me. Like I have to get back on my poetry.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. Let me get it right now.
I need to do it 2020. Oh jeez.
Yeah.
All right. I'm on it. Okay, great. All right, so thank you very much, and hope you inspire many more lives.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.